You're listening to the Devil Dog Talk Show.
This show contains explicit material and is recommended for ages 18 and older for mature audiences only. But hey, it's the internet.
Welcome to the Devil Dog Talk Show. Today we have Susie Plasencia. Nailed it. I know I did. From
Nailed
Umo.
it.
Yeah, both times. Both things. And, well, what we got going on is kind of an interesting conversation. Twofold, right? One, it's about cannabis, just so everybody's aware. You know, if you're into that or not, that's fine. But this is cool information. And on top of it, the type and style of farming. So I don't know if you want to focus in on Umo or the other one. And I'm not even going to try to say, is it an acronym or is it possible?
Possible.
Okay,
Possible.
cool.
Yeah, I'm just wearing all my things. Possible. Yeah, Possible Project. That's our parent company and the farm that we partly owns Umo.
That's amazing because I was, of course, reading your press kit, and I love Zoe. She always sends over the best of people, and it makes my brain work better. And it's like, yeah, I could just look at the information. I don't have to go hunting. You know, it's like full on. I got my images. I love it. It makes my life so much easier. But the reason why I really wanted to talk to you about both projects, it's not projects, I should say both entrepreneurialships, right? And I hate the word projects because then it makes it sound like, oh, this is a nice little science project we're doing on Tuesday. No.
Yeah, it sounds like limited. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, to me, I like to, have that full, well, you're a grown ass person. So it's like your things are, grown and cool. We're talking about growing and cannabis and farming, agriculture, and then also heritage. So these are kind of the main parts that we're going to be hitting on today's episode of the Devil Dog Talk Show with Susie Plasencia from Umo and Possible. See, so Possible doesn't have like a Latin, like possible.
No, it's not possible. No.
Okay.
Possible.
Yeah, right?
No, they don't have like a Latino kind of twist to it. But they are all Latinos over there,
That's
which is a
amazing.
big reason why I really wanted to work with them. It's just from the moment we met, I was like, they're the ones.
You just catch that vibe and energy. That's awesome.
Yeah, because I had been approached by two other operators in the past to build a brand with me, and it just didn't feel right. And, there are times where, you want to do it, it's the right time, but it's got to fit. And I walked away those other two times, but I didn't walk away for them.
That's awesome. Now, to touch base on yourself, what is your history in cannabis, not just culture, but entrepreneurship? Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. My journey in cannabis really begins in around 2010. I was a bud tender at a trap shop.
Nice.
Yes, and I was really young. I loved weed, and there was an opportunity to kind of take a side gig on it. And I was like, sure, I was so young. I was like, let's try it. I was a bud tender, and I didn't really feel like I was given guidance or professional support to really see it as a real job or real career path. And I look at bud tenders now, and that's a real career path. If you want to become an executive in cannabis or an entrepreneur, or just move up in the chain where you are, bud tender is where it all starts. And I wish I knew that back in the day. But, that still was a big part of my cannabis journey, started as a bud tender. And when I think about Umo now, I still take from a lot of the experiences that I had as a bud tender when it comes to remembering that cannabis is still a medicine for a lot of people, and but I still refer to cannabis consumers as patients sometimes. And I have folks in the cannabis world look at me and they're like, oh, you're an OG. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Because patience, that's a term that we used back in the day, when we would have to have medical cards to go into shops, we would, right? Do you remember those days? Do you remember the patient appreciation where you would have to give a donation? And it was like,
everything was donation
so those
based.
were my
You're
days.
not purchasing, you're donating. And I, honestly, yes. Yeah, I definitely do. I see. Here's the conflict. A lot of people go, man, it was just different. It was different. So to some it was better, but that's everybody. That's up to opinion. Like for me, the oversight that the AMUA Act, but it allowed for entrepreneurial ventures. I mean, sure, the banking still's got to catch up, of course, but
Yeah.
that's federal. That's not, that's not a small issue to confront. But the concept of the patient, the medicine, that's what helped me tremendously during my transition through out of the military, I should say. And
Oh, thank you for your service.
oh no, I see. I don't know how to. I don't even know how to react to that sometimes, dude. Like,
I get you. Honestly, my boyfriend's the same way. My boyfriend is Air Force,
oh, nice.
and he feels uncomfortable when people tell, and he's like, thank you. Like same
Yeah.
thing like you.
No, thank you for yours. I don't. What are you supposed to do? I don't know. Like it's the same thing. Like when you're bud tending and you're like, all right, have a good one, and then the person goes, and you as well, and it's like, well, you already
Yeah.
said it like 3 or 4 times, and you're like, I don't know what. Walk away.
I do the same thing with waiters because waiters will be like, enjoy your food, and I'm like, enjoy yours, and like, fuck, like.
What did you just say out loud? Like, oh, I literally just put my foot in my mouth and I dribbled. But that's
It's all good though.
Yeah.
But I feel you.
So to get back on it, God, I forgot where it was at. Lord. Back in the day when you had
Talk about cannabis.
yes, so back in the day when I transitioned, I was finding out what medicines are available. I leaned heavily on guidance from the bud tenders, so that's awesome. Like, and it was a good relationship, and you always had the same person. And like if you because like I would smoke a lot, like a lot. I smoke a lot. That has not changed. But that's kind of the thing is like when you smoke a lot, you can't afford, the higher end stuff. And it's like, look, I want to try it. I want to try the oils. I want to try everything, to be honest with you. But this is my budget. And they would always be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm like, yes, you guys are great. P.S. Because
those are the really great bud tenders and the power of bud tenders and why you have to respect them, but also leverage their knowledge because they're the ones that have access to so many products and they're having to test them and sell them, and they'll tell you the truth. They'll tell you what they feel
and that's
what they
something.
think.
Yeah, that's something awesome that you bring up about bud tending. It's like it's the kind of the foot in the door. You're starting out, but then it leads to like where you're at now. And it's just a tremendous leap. Like, I don't know how many years you've spent, as bud tending or in the industry or farming if you have. But I find that really interesting that you started out your journey as, as a bud tender. You were helping patients. You still carry that terminology. It's hella time stamping people, I think, nowadays. Like you brought up, you go to an event and it's like, yeah, so patients and medicine. Like, bro, what? So it's very different. But I also find it really interesting because when the cannabis that I was purchasing then, you do fall into this. Well, I'm not sure if it's clean product. I don't, the concepts of testing, and you bring it up. I've brought it up with a previous guest, Nick Care, who's our sponsor for Plate Muscle Relief Cream. Got to bring that up, right? And he also makes or produces agriculturally CBD organic flower. And we were breaking down on the previous episode all the different regulating agencies, licenses, and all that stuff. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you about not just UMO, but Possible, and learning not only the branding and the marketing and, bringing in the diversity and the culture, the heritage, but how do you keep up with the evolution of all of that?
Oh man, this industry, there are times where I sit here and I'm like, how come it's still not legalized? Like, why isn't there movement? But then you look at all the movement that has happened in this industry, and it's not what it used to be. I mean, there's advancement in all areas, technology, people, career development, access, just a lot of innovation going on as well. So it's been great to kind of witness the growth of the industry in so many different ways. But I think that I come from because I'm from LA born and raised. And I think that in general, LA skews more indoor flower, and that's because of where, the location. We can't really grow outdoors so much. Legalization pushed us underground, and to be able to grow flower, in that way, I was definitely exposed to more of the indoor kind of grows, so I had no idea about other other ways of growing cannabis. And I
Wow.
feel like there are a lot of other people who are on the same, we're on the same boat. I think 2023 is a little different now, most of us know, but back in the day, it was indoor, no seeds, icky, that's if you're smoking good. And it was like that or stress. Like there was no in between. I didn't know anything about outdoor, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So one of the great things and advantages of being able to be a part of this project, in this business, both with Possible and Umo, is really learning more about growing in a level that I had never really first of all cared for in the beginning because I was just smoking it. But now, with the level of education, on the industry, it forces you to care more because you're like, well, where am I smoking and how do they do it? What types of soil do you use? Kind of irrigation system. So I've definitely it's just been a wonderful ride geeking out and learning from the talented grow team over at Possible because they are agriculture experts. A lot of their team comes from growing food, comes from growing tomatoes, and they bring that expertise and level of care to growing cannabis out there.
That's amazing. And I love that you brought up tomatoes because that was always what I told everybody I'm growing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, plants, right? Plants from the earth, plants that benefit you. I think that tomatoes, it's a great analogy because people love to compare weed to flowers, right? And like, honestly, fruit is the best thing because it has an expiration date. Like it lives. It's like, I think tomatoes is a really great way to kind of parallel with cannabis growth. But I'm always amazed every time I go to the farm and just take a look at the technology that they have out there. They're installing and they installed already a really awesome irrigation system that is really helping them with the way that they feed the plants. So
Okay.
basically, they broke down this new irrigation to me in a really simple way because I'm not a grower and agricultural specialist. So they were like, basically, us as humans, we eat different things. Like I may like chicken, you may like steak, right? And plants, they all need their certain nutrients at certain times. If they're growing at a certain phase, they need different food. So this new irrigation system they just installed allows them to give kind of prescribed feeding for the plants so that they all get what they need. Part of Possible Project's approach is sustainability. And so they maximize the use of the sun for the full spectrum effect, but understand that that's not all that plants need. So they supplement with LED lighting. Just like indoor, they supplement with LED lighting, except unlike indoor, we are fully leveraging the sun. So the result is flower that is so terpy because we didn't cut out the sun, still has all those nutrients, but still has the structure of that you're used to from indoor because we do pump CO2. Also the lights, that's where we're able to see the trichomes, the structure, the THC content. We're putting mixed light greenhouse flower on the map in a way that really I feel I haven't seen in the industry because again, I come from indoor, so to see flower that is rivaling indoor from both the structure, THC content, and it's terpy like outdoor, like we're really bringing the future of cannabis growing here to California through mixed light.
That's amazing. And for a lot of our listeners that aren't, up to speed on mixed light or light deprivation, LED, sodium halide, or there's the other one too. I can't remember. It's a type of lithium, helium, something. I don't remember. So there's like the old school lights where you're like you got your junction boxes and all this crap, and that's what Susie's bringing up. But to revolutionize how we're using not only the sun now and mixed lights and the appropriate nutrient levels, right, to minimize. I'm guessing to really capitalize on water, right? So I'm probably sure we're using like a drip line or some kind of like massive. I could just imagine, like, I'd probably just go in there and be flabbergasted, just stuck, like, whoa.
Hey, if you're ever down.
And so this is located
Honestly,
in.
the tours are pretty like amazing. My partner Jesus, he does a lot of tours for VIPs and guests and stuff we have, and I always joke that he gets in presentation mode, because he's just like, and over here we have this, and over here but he's so good at it. So I welcome you, because I have seen this tour a handful of times, and each time I'm still learning and amazed.
That's awesome. I would love to do that, actually. And so the reason why I get so geeky about it is because I've had a lot of different guests on, and you guys, reading through your packet again, like I've really hit on the exploration of agricultural development, right? And we had a great guest on from the USDA, and we were talking a lot because his history was in soil conservation. So him just talking to me about like kind of what you brought in about the balance and the nutrients and, giving it this and that and the third. Agriculturally, this is very important because California is an agricultural state. I grew up in the Central Valley in Lemoore. And so it's one of those things where the knowledge is very intimate because everybody depends on water in this state. Like, don't get me wrong. We have a lot to work on in the state. The state has everything, right, and everybody has a lot to work on. Okay, like I have an acre and I got so much crap to work on. And I look at it every day, going like, no. So it's chicken strips nights. I'm just sitting back and just air frying it because I'm exhausted. But for a lot of people, we got to understand that water is very important throughout the state. We just got this wonderful wet season. We used to call it El Nino. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so nobody's even brought it up. And I'm like,
No, I wonder why. That's a good point.
What happened there? Conspiracies. I'm just kidding. but for...
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it was the media trying to not, like, bring more divisive stuff, because El Nino, it has a Latin kind of Spanish name, right? Yeah. And then also negative. So maybe it was a good thing, because then it's just a kind of assigning negative something.
They literally started calling it atmospheric rivers, and maybe that's what the new trend is. I struggle to keep up, and I try my best, but then it gets exhausting. I'm like, look, I got some brain damage, right? Like, I don't know if you know this, but I got some brain damage, and I consider myself half retarded. So me keeping up with things. Come on, guy, give me a break. Like,
it's a lot to keep up with. Yeah, it is. Right.
So like, I never knew what an atmospheric river was, and then I started Googling it, and it was like, yeah, this is like always why the Amazon is so lush and beautiful and plentiful. And then even in the Amazon, speaking of soil conservationists, this dude, and this is just a random story to get back on subject, right? This dude poured out like hundreds of tons of orange peels on a previously excavated rainforest area. It took, I think, 30 years, but it paid off. Then it was just back to it being its luxurious, beautiful Mother Nature self, right? And to get back to possible, that's one of the things that I really want to now circle all the way around back to Umo. Because with a brand such as Umo, it sounds fuego. Ooh. And to tie in both marketing, right? Let's go back to, you also have a glass company. So you have a tremendous workload. And I'm trying to bring everything up before I forget, like I just said. Bit slow guy. And so for me, to talk about Umo and how the grassroots origination and how it's a female founded, company, that's very empowering. But how did that come about in its history? Like, just to focus on Umo a little bit.
Yeah. Oh man, we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary, February 4th. But like everything that we do, we're gonna do it. We're gonna stretch it out, so it's our birthday month.
Nice.
We're celebrating our month long. Yes, but this really came to happen. Really because of, I feel like, when I talk to, other, because I have a lot of Latinas and a lot of women who reach out to me a lot for advice or just, mentorship. And I always tell them, the power of manifestation is real. Like, I know it sounds a little like, out here, like you're just kind of wish for it and it happens. Not necessarily. I think that when you're an entrepreneur, you can definitely put pieces in place to attract a reality that you know you're going to achieve. I think that I'm an entrepreneur from the get-go, so I knew that I was going to be owning, something in cannabis soon, and I put those pieces in place because I was already an entrepreneur and had my agency. So I have an agency called Night Shift Cannabis where I was consulting with other brands, and I really hit a wall as a Latina, as a woman of color. I would be speaking to cannabis companies, letting them know about what they should be doing, right? I have a master's degree from USC of journalism, so I'm a trained writer. I'm also been in PR and marketing for over a decade. I know what I'm doing here. So I would be consulting and not taken seriously. Most of the time, I was asked to be a salesperson or a back to a bud tender, and I would try to explain, no, I can actually rewrite your website and give you a brand story and help you differentiate in the market. I can actually, have my team do social media marketing, and like none of that was getting through to people and to a lot of, unfortunately, men who were seeing me as a woman being younger, thinking, no, 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 pipe down, you can be, get into the sales or go pack some stuff. So it was really difficult to me. For me, it put me in a really bad place. And I think that a lot of female practitioners in this industry can identify with this feeling. It feels very devaluing, right? It makes you feel like, well, should I even be in this industry if I'm not even going to get taken seriously, right? So it was a tough time. But at that time is when my partner and I launched Mota Glass. And Mota Glass, because I was a co-founder in it, I was able to then do my social media marketing, my branding, my storytelling, all the stuff that I was constantly telling brands they needed to do. I was able to do it with my own brand. And guess what we did in a few short months? We had them on Forbes. We had Mary Jane Magazine. We just got LA Times a couple months ago. We grew this brand so large and so impactful in such a short time that we made our mark. And when you Google Latinos in cannabis or Latinas in cannabis, you're likely going to find me advocating for our people, speaking about the plant, speaking about the importance of reclaiming this plant for our purposes, and also unlocking the great opportunities that this plant provides with regard to entrepreneurship and career development. I think that this industry is booming for a lot of people, and we're constantly being asked, where are the Latinos? We are dealing with stigma. We are dealing with us holding ourselves back because of these barriers that our culture creates and our community creates. That's where we're dealing with it. So I made my mission and purpose in this industry to create dream jobs in cannabis for Latinos, for women. So that's really the mission that I entered with. And through Mota Glass, I was able to show my expertise and really cast a table for, and really what Possible did is they wanted a seat at that table. And that's what I like to tell these other women that, look up to me. Stop trying to get a seat at the table and get to building your own table. Because that's what I did. I created my table of advocacy for Latinos in cannabis, advocacy for women in cannabis, and Possible asked for a seat at my table to talk about building a brand. And they came to me and they were like, hey, we are a provider for cannabis. We're killing it, but we don't see a Latino brand on the market. We heard you're that girl.
Nice. See, that's very powerful. That is
and
very powerful.
Like,
yeah.
Let's have a talk, you know?
Take a seat. We're about to have a sit down. Kim Gates. Great song. But no, for real, I love the energy because to me that's a very powerful not just way of creating a brand, but creating an identity and shifting those stigmas, because that's excruciatingly important. Like you were saying, the not just cannabis culture, but Latino culture, right? And the heritage behind being Hispanic, Mexican, or Dominican, or Brazilian, or Spanish, just straight up. Like there's so many mixes of us. And that's the reason why I talk about Mexico so much, is because, Spanish isn't the native language, but you will be shit on if you don't speak Spanish. Like, it's like, yeah, bro, like, I'm sorry. Like, my wife's Yaqui Indian, right? So Yaqui was the native of that area in Obregon. And like all of these tribes used to spread out. And I'm not giving you a history lesson. I'm just, for the listeners.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with my heritage because growing up, a child in Mexican family, like that's how I was raised. And I am Mexican, just in case anybody's wondering. But the point is, the charros and how my grandfather, raised horses and, all the different stuff. It was just this very rich culture. However, mota, cannabis, marijuana, yesca, yerba, however you want to call it, right? Fumo, right? There's so many humo now, right? So many different ways that we could say it, but it's very no, right? And there's a lot of other things in the culture that are very no, like, going to therapy. That's a no-no. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Something wrong with you? Why crying? Right? That's a whole stretch of George Lopez's entire comedy life was, why are you crying? Why? Because it's real. It's like the chancla. You bust that shit out and everyone's like, ah! And there's, effective traumas to incorporate like what you're bringing up. And I want to bring out another guest with Andrew D'Angelo. We discussed, the very unbalanced, heavy-handed judicial processes, or I should say, it's just fucked up. I can't even say it in a nice way. It's just the way that we handle things in culture and our perspectives of the judicial system. It's just kind of one of those things that's at a loss. And everybody's right. Imagine that. Imagine everybody's right because nobody's wrong. Because at the end of the day, at the time when cannabis was made illegal, right, back in the 30s, I think it was heavy-handedly racism. It was, the word marijuana was utilized to attach a culture, and the culture was Mexicans. Yeah, believe it or not. So Trips, right? Trips McGee. And the way that it worked out in a lot of other cultures was, blacks. What? Yeah. So imagine being in the 30s and everybody's doing weed. It's in everything. It's in, oh my God, one of my favorite old drugs that I used to talk about was called laudanum. And it's a morphine compound mixture with alcohol and cannabis. And I was like, wow, they used to make that shit? Yeah. And cocaine was in Coca-Cola. Like, wow.
I know, right?
These dudes were nuts. Okay. I don't know how life went on over there, like in that era of existence. But it was leveraged heavily to get people this crop. And the way the crop brought about was, you could talk about, this is just a huge history lesson, listeners, because you know what? We got to dive into the heritage and about Mexicans and about Susie being Mexican, the heritage, everything else.
You can't be involved in this industry, whether you're working in it or smoking the cannabis, without really knowing these important moments in history, because it really changes your perspective about where you as a consumer play, into it.
Yeah.
So it's important.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine, like, okay, so coming home and smelling of weed back in the day was like the worst, scary, sketchy shit. Like, I remember that, okay? And it's something like, I never used cannabis when I was young, okay? Never. But from my previous experiences as an adult after leaving the military, what I experienced was even hanging out, like with the family, like you go to visit, but you reek of weed. Everybody's like, hey, bud, like, that's not cigarettes. I'm like, yeah, it's a cigar. What, you mean you wrap something in a cigar? It's like, hey, you better go spray something before grandma smells you because you're going to get your ass handed to you. And so it's changed a lot. Like, I mean, that was a quick, brief, history thing, but to tie it in, it's like, how did you overcome not just that, like you hit a glass ceiling. I mean, you didn't say that, but I'm like, yeah, that's what that is. And everybody hits them in life. And that's kind of like a cultural, it's an experiential perspective thing, right? And this is me just projecting my years of therapies that I've been through. But my point is like for you to overcome something so profoundly and then create your own table and then have a situation where people are coming to you for your expertise, right? And now you're turning around being the mentor of ladies around, the world, the nation, however, big, honestly, you want. And that's something that when a brand takes off, just as much as, the catchy name marijuana took off back in the day, or, the crazy jazz juice, or, the devil's lettuce, like whatever you want to call it, it takes off and it creates either a stigma or an acceptance or both. And there really isn't I don't think there's as much problem within cannabis as it used to be, especially with agricultural development, entrepreneurship. And then when women like yourself create a, an avenue and a platform that is observed, right? I go, shine light on that shit. Shine bright like a diamond, right? And
I appreciate that because it makes a difference too.
it's very important, all right? Because two things, being of the Latino Mexican heritage, all that shit. And I get caught up in trying to figure it, like I just said, a bit ago. Is it Hispanic? Is
Yeah.
it Latino? All I know is when they go, what race are you? It's white, black, or other. And I'm like, so I don't know even what to do on forms. Like, so
It's stressful. It is. But I heard that recently Biden's like gonna like adding like Mexican and Hispanic to a few things.
it's like, why not just add it all? Like, I mean, if you want demographics, right? So
Right.
breaking down marketing to tap into your also expertise. What is it that goes into something like developing marketing? Like right there, we're discussing, government forms, but what they're asking for is demographics. And in that you could apply for marketing. And I go, so for you, when your product's moving from, the shelves, just flying off, and, I look through you guys' product. I love the product name and I want to get into that, like the different names. Like I was chopping it up because I just love pissing my wife off. Horchata. Yeah. I got horchata. She was like, "You mother, that is not right." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And then pandulce, pandulc. What is that one?
I've had some like people who like clearly love Italian culture. They're like they've said like menta dulce,
Ooh, that's nice.
and I was like, that's cute, but it's dulce.
It's mente dulce.
Dulce, yeah. But dulce, it's very Italian.
Yeah, that's very, very Italian to chop it up that way. So when you guys go back to like your branding and marketing, do you seek like all those type of demographics? Is there a large like a funnel? Are you capturing all this data like the Chinese balloon?
Yeah, we have Latino balloons that just fly through California, just capturing people's taco orders.
Yeah. Everything that they're going for. Oh my God, that's great.
No, we do not have those resources. But I feel that we're not like targeting people necessarily. We are seeking to represent a community that hasn't been represented in the past. And this comes from my direct experience, but I think that my direct experience is also the shared experience of a lot of Latinos in California. I'm not that special, right? I think what I am is a first generation Mexican American that has been detached from my culture, and I have spent my adulthood trying to learn more about myself and where my culture lies. And I think that my story is very similar to probably yours from what I heard already, right? We're trying to get back to our roots and trying to understand them, trying to learn about our history and see how our history has impacted us. So I think that that's kind of the collective journey that a lot of Latinos like ourselves are currently undertaking, and Umo really seeks to be a brand that understands where Latinos, are going, and we are really aiming to represent. We're not really targeting, but we are representing for sure through many different ways, whether it's our iconic branding and apparel. We're trying to give people stuff that's reppable. People love to rep Umo throughout the state and beyond, and a part of that is by having fire merch, right? Something you want to rep. But ultimately, we want people to celebrate their cannabis use. Stop hiding it, right? Get out of that cannabis closet. Get out here and rep that you are smoking cannabis. And by having this fire merch that we have, people are doing that. They're wearing their Umo hoodies, their sweaters. We're about to launch online. People can buy stuff online for the first time ever. And I know it's going to go wild. But that moment of being able to put on a hoodie that says Raza owned, they're repping their cannabis use. They're repping Latino-owned cannabis in a way that really didn't exist before us. And also through our strain names. I have seen, sometimes I'm a secret shopper. I'll go to dispensaries and just kind of look at people shop. I just love to see it, right?
Nice.
And there are people who have seen our strain names and they're like, Fresas con crema. Wow. I grew up eating fresas con crema and now I can now smoke it. And so seeing that kind of effect that we've had on people, communities of color, that is an impact that I think a lot of folks in cannabis are starting to see. You can have an impact on people with cannabis through products. And I'm so proud that Umo is having this effect on people.
That's amazing because you bring in a great point about marketing research. I learned that's what that's called when you go people watch. And Tim Ferriss was
Yeah.
talking about his book in the same way. You know, he would go and put his book label, not book label, book cover on a random book at Barnes and Nobles and see how many people picked up which cover. Okay. So I don't know if you might want to, pick up on that, game on there, but that's pretty slick. And I was like, yeah, it is important to see what other people are doing in the industry. It's important to recognize the progress of the industry. It's important to recognize the growth of a culture. And when you say la raza, right, that's something that's very important to, of course, Latinos. We're the only ones that pick up when you say that. What you're putting down, we're picking it up. So not to isolate, but there's so many different cultures within cannabis that utilize cannabis because I grew up in a town where, the best farms were Latino farms. The best cattle farms were Portuguese. Okay. So there was a lot of people that specialized in different things growing up that I recognized in culture. So I'm not saying that it's a good or a bad thing to isolate or to support one culture or the other, or to say these things, that things are more important, but to recognize that the best agricultural backgrounds in the state of California, let's be honest, 100% Latino or Hispanic, okay? The people actually doing the work, okay? The vast majority of the workers, day in and day out, picking strawberries. Oh my God, let me tell you my grandfather and grandmother's stories, right? They would sit back and tell us, like, you don't know hard work? Like, no, I don't know. I don't know what it feels like to live in a farm camp and just pick strawberries until all of the strawberries have been picked. Like, I don't know
Right.
what that feels like. I don't want to know what that feels like, to be honest with you. And of course, being raised around the culture of, of course, we have it easy in this generation. I could literally look up anything in any moment. I could be exposed to just about anything, good or bad. That's the power of the internet, right? And in this moment of life, I go, it's important to kind of figure out who the fuck I am. And that's when you bring up heritage. I'm like, yeah, that's a very good way of saying, La Raza is something that is more than the thought of family. It's not just the thought of race. It's not just this saying. It means something. Like, and there's so much diversity. Like bringing in the Yaqui Indians and Obregón and Sinaloa, Culiacan. You could name almost every state up in Mexico and city and find a diverse culture. Like TJ or Tijuana, right? Caesar's salad. No, that's not how you say it. Cesar. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yes, because it was made there first. And I go, so there's a lot of things, and even burritos. I didn't know burritos, right? I didn't know that that was an American or Mexican-American thing until I met my wife, okay? So tacos, that's it. That's all they got in Mexico, bro. Anything otherwise, we're catering to the whites. I'm not saying it in a bad way, but it's a good thing to know because they like to come down here and spend money.
American culture is its own thing, right? And I think that's where the identity of what being a Chicano or Chicana comes from. And with Umo, we're working with an amazing marketing team out of Mexico, but we're working together because Umo is a Mexican American brand. And there are certain concepts that they bring to the table that we work on together because it's important that this brand appeals to the Mexican American community as well as the Mexican community, but we're not available in Mexico, right? We're available in California.
Right.
So that's something that I keep in mind, when we are doing activations, events, or just growing the brand. I'm always considering, the American perspective as well.
Now, as to focus in on that, right? We got a lot of cultural discussion already. To focus in on another bullet point, you are a woman and you've been through the industry. You've I'm not saying women are more empathetic than men, but they are. You know how to see things and how they're trending, and it seems like you're underappreciated. Now that goes a lot of directions for most women, ladies, whoever identifies as what. I really don't care. The point is when you feel as though somebody or something has created this perspective of your limitations without your engagement or your say so or attempt. See, so I'm not just talking about it, as a woman's slight, but as a human being experiencing something where you're underappreciated. Because I don't want to speak on behalf of women. I would like you to do that. So for yourself, how was that overcoming and creating something such as Umo and these relationships? How were you able to determine this is it? Was it a faith thing? Was it a belief thing? Did you seek out counsel, mentorship? Like, what was going on throughout that battle?
Yeah, I think that I've always been very community oriented. I created the Susie Greens persona on Instagram after I had joined the cannabis community more, and I was going to events, and I would constantly be like, yeah, I work in the cannabis industry, I'm a consultant. And people would be like, you're not really a stoner. I think because I present very professional and kind of clean, and that's because I'm a professional, like kind of nerdy person. But like I would be like, no, I'm a cannabis professional as well. I smoke cannabis as well, and they'd be like, nah, because my Susie Placencia Instagram account again presents like very clean. So I created Susie Greens to be like, fuck y'all, like I'm a real one, So I created that one, and I began to be more myself on that account. Then I realized I was being on my Susie Placencia, my public persona. It's because that person I was trying to be clean, right?
Right.
Susie Greens, I was like more open about how much I smoke cannabis, about the realities that I go through. So then I began to be more community oriented on my Susie Greens account, right? So when I built Mota Glass, I was more open and close to my community there about what we were going through and the growth of the brand. And a big reason why we have so many supporters throughout the country and beyond for Mota Glass is because I'm very visible and I'm very open. So I kind of created the same a vibe for Umo where people feel like they're a part of the brand and a part of the whole project. And also I think what I look in terms of validation, like you mentioned, like what's the marker that I use to think for things are going well, is people are not shy to reach out to me and tell me that what they feel about my businesses. So with Mota Glass, I get direct feedback of people showing off their pieces, having a collection of Mota Glass pieces, 4 or 5 pieces that they have on their shelf. That's the validation that I get, that they love the brand, that they are picking up what I'm putting down. With Umo, same thing. People love to go to their dispensaries, post up what they picked up from Umo, tell me how they love the strains, purchase it from their shops, and go straight to telling me. And then with the organization Latinas in Cannabis that I created, we started doing events, and women are coming out, and they're not only going to events, but they're telling me what they want to see. And, so those are the markers that I really look for to validate that I'm doing something good, is community. If it builds, if it continues to grow, that's how I know we have hit something here.
That's awesome. And it's such a positive outlook and perspective that I think it's super important to focus in on as a community that needs not just, of course, the support of others like women and Latinas that are involved in cannabis culture, entrepreneurship, business structure, agriculture, you name it, because you bring in clothing, right? And I know Latinas, okay, and it's hard to appeal to any woman, let alone a Latina, about her image, her look, her shoes. Jesus, don't even start. Jewelry, like it's just all of everything. I'm your typical dude. I'm not anything. I am 100% in stretchy shorts, even if it's cold, chanclas, and a t-shirt, and I have to wear this because it's cold. And I'm like, other than that, Nah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. See, that's the thing too. Is like, how do you appeal to so many different viabilities, so many different areas? And when you brought up right now with the one more time, the Latinas organization that you did, what is it called?
Yeah, Latinas in cannabis. I started it in 2020. Honestly, at first, because I kept coming across so many badass Latinas on Instagram.
Oh,
And
nice.
I was like, how is this person nobody knows about her? And how or I would see Latinas have small businesses like the resin art or like the joint clips,
Hmm.
and they were making this stuff by hand, and it was cute and it was weed, and I'm like, how are they don't have money for marketing? So I was like, okay, what if I created an Instagram account that just published repost their stuff to get bigger visibility to help them sell? What if I can create representation? What if I can create community? Started as an Instagram account, and now it's several thousands of followers strong, Latinos from all over the world, and it's become a sales tool. People rely on us to get views. Like
Nice.
companies reach out. We started doing events. Like it became a monster, but it's all about representation. I think all three of my businesses, Mota Glass, Umo, and Latinas in Cannabis, it's all about creating community, creating representation, giving proper respect. They all have that in common, but bongs, weed, and events.
Yeah, that's a perfect mix. Like honestly, I am like I'm like, wow, that just sounds like a great time. Like if anybody is interested, let me tell you what, you got to hit up Susie because this sounds like some great stuff going on. Like with Mota Glass, Umo, and Latinas in Cannabis, right? There you've created an ecosystem. So going back tying it into soil, right? You have a self-sufficient ecosystem that's building, right? From the grassroots. And this is a gorgeous thing because to me, as a person just looking in, and of course, this is fresh eyes. Okay, like you're teaching me as much more about your brand than I could read faster than I could understand, and I love that. And I hope our listeners are taking a kind of a seat back and going like, "Hey, all right, so let me just get this straight. This woman's created 3 viable thingies. Yep, manages all of this stuff. Uh-huh. Can do everything, and on top of that, we let her go? Yeah." Idiots. Like I would be literally so happy for when you guys get to the or when you ladies, let me just fix that, my bad. You ladies get to the point where you're turning around and buying out the competition that wouldn't listen to your ideas. Like I love that. That's my I guess my soap opera novella self, right? I want
It's really funny because there are some brands that I consulted with before Umo, before Mota Glass even, that like I said, those people didn't take me seriously, didn't know what I was doing. Like, what is this girl talking about branding and marketing? You're just trying to get paid, right? I felt like that. Like I got that vibe. After seeing Mota Glass, Umo, all the press, everything, I have those people who are literally hitting me up and being like, I didn't know that that's what you meant.
oh wow. See,
And
and
I
that's
think
a
that
learning
they
thing.
have their blinders on of like they could have never understood what I meant. They
Yeah.
could have never. I could have broken it down any way, but because I look like this, they were not hearing me. They needed to see me on Forbes and all these other things to understand what I brought to the table. It's unfortunate, but they missed that boat. But Possible did not. They
See,
did
that's
not pass
awesome.
on
I
me.
love that.
They were like, no, invest, do it. And so I'm always grateful for my team over at Possible for believing in Night Shift Cannabis, my agency, and believing in me and my team, because them taking a chance on us is why everything is killing it.
Yeah, I mean honestly, and to get back to the actual products themselves.
Hmm.
So let's touch base first on Umo. I want to talk about Mota Glass and then the events that you have coordinated or going on. That way, listeners
Yes.
can get involved.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, Umo, the
so
flower, guys.
so
You guys gotta try
Umo, you have set up this marketing behind it that is just it's fuego, and I love that because that's exactly where you go. Where there's Umo, there's fuego, and I'm like, wow, that's cool, that's convenient. And the type of products you have are flower based, yes, or are there
it. Yes.
multiple?
We are a flower brand primarily because since our parent company Possible is a farm, we wanted to really hit the ground running with the brand, focusing on flower products. So we have eighths, we have half ounces, we have ounces, we have joint packs, 5 packs, 2 packs, and one singles. But we're also gonna be rolling out a ready to roll option. So it's gonna be already ground up with papers in it. You just open it up and roll it. Super awesome. Or if you have a bong, you just scoop it with your bowl and you're good to go.
Nice.
I love it. I love the ease of it. So that's coming soon. And we're also, it's gonna be announced next week, so you get the exclusive. We're gonna be launching a really awesome top shelf line for Umo, which is a direct result from an R&D program that we're going to be premiering. So more information on that, but basically this project helps us highlight some amazing strains from some of award-winning breeders in our breeder community. So it's a program that allows us to bring some extremely beautiful flower to market, but it's limited quantity only, small batch, limited batch only. But we are packaging under that under Humo's Reserva de la Familia line, which is specifically reserved for our family. That's why it's called the Reserva for la Familia. So I'm so excited to share more about that next week. But it's gonna be some of the best flower that you have ever seen come out of Mixed Light, and that's especially reserved for our Reserva line. So excited to see so many products Umo coming out with, because we always drop products that we know the community wants. This is all feedback based. People are saying, I love your strains. I wish I could get in a joint. Bam, joints hit the market, you know? We're just listening to our community and giving them products that we know that they want, and we're continuing to get the feedback in terms of what strains and flavors they like. So we are a very terp forward brand because we use the full power of the sun. We get that full spectrum taste on our bud, but still have that THC content. So come out and taste some of our strains. Our award winner limonada and arroz con leche, and we're actually just about to drop a strain this week. Let's see if I post it today. It's called flechazo. Flechazo means basically loosely means love at first sight. It depicts the moment when you see something so beautiful that you fall in love. So I named this strain because of the nug structure that this nug has. It's really beautiful, but it also has like a floral taste to it. Very gassy, but very floral. So I was like, that is love at first sight, love at first smell. So it's called Flechazo. That's about to hit the market very soon. There's just so much happening with Umo. Just keep an eye on us because it's our birthday month and we're going hard.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like I'm like, okay, like thank you. Holy shit. Just throwing it on. Thank you. Okay.
All of it.
Wow.
Delicious, chirpy flower. Award-winning flower as well. We took home 2 gold awards at the California State Fair just a few months ago for terpene expression.
Oh wow.
That's
that sounds
just a
wonderful.
nod to our growers.
See, and that's amazing because I've been around a block or two, and so when I find strains that are just absolutely wow, right? Like, I love how you're marketing with Flechazo because I'm like, yes, that is great. And you nailed it on the head because there are certain strains where you just look at it and you smell it and you're like, oh, I just want to live inside of you. I want you to be me.
I want to bathe in it.
Yes, I want to bathe in it. Yeah. Like the whole like just outpouring of love. I love that. I love it. And I think our listeners and everybody that listens can just really dig the new brand name. I am not going to try and say it, but I will love to fucking try it. So the Familia Reserva. No.
Yes,
I did. I nailed it.
Reserva de la Familia.
Reserva de la Familia. There we go.
It's inspired by Jose Cuervo. If you guys have had Jose Cuervo, I'm sure you probably have had it in your lifetime.
That's tequila, right? That's the tequila.
Yes,
okay.
Jose Cuervo is a tequila line that has been around for many, many years. They are one of the oldest family-owned tequila companies ever, and they're also one of the most successful. They continuously drop new product lines, and in the 1990s, they were really known to have a special stash of tequila that they would have for their family only, and they called it the special reserva, like stash of their tequila, and they wouldn't have it for sale. It was only for their special family members. But in 1995, they decided to package that reserva alcohol for the world, and they dropped it as a special limited release. So it is inspired by that we wanted to do a similar line of reserva. And this is because this is our special stash that we smoke. We do R&D up at the farm all the time. We have to, because someone's got to smoke it before it goes in that jar, right? Or in those bags. So our R&D program is something that we do, and that's something internal. But we are bringing it to our Humor Familia through this line, because all R&D flour doesn't make it there, right? It's got to pass all these tests. So our Reserva line is going to be special flour that made it there. So excited for you guys to try that. I'm not even gonna share the strain names because
No, don't do it.
So
Don't do it. Yeah, no, don't. I want that to be your thing. This is a special thing already. I'm already just flabbergasted by the conversation and the depth of the history, the heritage, yourself, the specialties, expertise. It's just all of the descriptive adjectives, the saying, wow, look at this beautiful, wonderful person that is doing such a great thing in life, that I'm like, wow, this is a newfound inspiration.
Thank you.
Like, honestly, because to me, that's what really this show is about, right? Is being able to do something that I enjoy, right? Is podcasting. I very much enjoy it. Plugging Podomatic.com. Don't worry about that. But do check it out. Podomatic.com is literally one of the reasons why I'm still alive today. Starting the projects of I shouldn't say project, but it's not a business either, so I will stick with projects. Yeah, and you have a business, I have a project. There we go. And for the podcast, right, being able to do it, talking to the lovely, great people like yourself, being inspired about not just Umo, but I really want to talk about Mota next, and that Mota glass, right, and that's something that being able to sit down with people, have an enjoying conversation. Working on a craft such as audio engineering, it gives me motivation to be better, do better, right? But then when you tie in other things that I love, like cannabis, right? When I get my hands on this product, I'm telling you, I'm going to be just like, hey, look at this, everybody. And because to me,
people do that. It's really exciting to see. I love to see that. They tag me in it. They're like, look what I got. And they dump it out. And they show the trichomes. It's so special. I geek out when people do that.
I love it because I'll sit there with my little glass. I have one of those little eyeball thingies that tell you when the trichomes are ready and everything. So it's like I will go in depth. And so for me, though, it's a very great experience to just talk to another person with such an inspirational story, and having that value of your entrepreneurship and mentorship towards other women, other people that are interested in what you're interested in. And being able to develop things like Umo and Mota Glass and Latinas in Cannabis. And so when you talk about Mota Glass, though, that was your first like your business and creating your lines. You said people will post it, they'll show off their glass. I know how people get about glass, right? Like it's a head game. Like back in the day, you'd see guys with just glass pieces that don't get near my shit, bro. I'm like, okay, I'm not touching. I am the guy that will break shit. Like, I don't mean to. I literally have to get the thickest, heaviest mamacita glass that I have is like 9-10 millimeter thick ass. She's my thick girl. I love her.
We got 9 mils.
Really? Nice. So I will be
real 9 mils.
I will be making
real 9 mils, because one thing I found out about with the shady glass industry is that there are some people that will sell you a 9 millimeter piece, but it's 7 millimeters. They just count on you not knowing.
I don't know anybody that's going to be popping out a measuring tape and be like, oh, well, first and foremost, this is
That's what they count on. They count on people not doing that. But it wasn't until I talked to one of our glass blowers and I grabbed one of his 9 mil pieces And I was like, yo, it's just shit. It's heavy as shit. And he goes, yeah, that's 9 millimeters. You have been being sold stuff that's not real. And that is just the beginning of how shady, the glass industry can be.
Yeah, and it's like super shady. I like that you put it that way because I don't like shitting on businesses, but I will shade on businesses all day. No, but
Right.
it sucks when you spend that much money on something. And it's the same thing with cannabis. I would hate for somebody to spend, several $100s on a magnificent ounce, which is totally great. Like back in the day, gonna date myself again, right? So you could use the same ounce you could buy here. I'm not saying I did this. Nobody I knew did this, but this is something I read about on the news one day. And you could take an ounce here in California, buy it for 150. By the time it gets to the Midwest, it's worth about 400. By the time it gets to certain areas in the East Coast, it can go up for to 500-600. And then there's other things you could get involved in. And I'm not saying prison systems are anything interesting, but that eighth could be relatively the same cost of an ounce and or your booty. But so that's the difference between knowing the product. Now, when you say 9 millimeter piece, we're not talking about guns, people. Okay, calm down. Guns are cool. But this is the only reason why I know the metric system. That's the right one.
Yeah,
okay.
that part, same. The only way I know grams, ounces, millimeters is because of weed. I would not know these things.
Nobody would. And I'm like, the only other thing I know is 10 millimeter socket, and I always lose that shit for my car work or auto work. But other than that, guns, weed, and glass pieces are the only things that I would say, oh yeah, no, I definitely got my little map on my eye. This finger's about 9. That one's about 40. Yeah, that one's about 10. Okay, so... And for yourself, now when you focused in on Mota Glass and you guys were building that brand and you guys were creating glass pieces, I am, like I said, I am a shitty person and I will always break my glass pieces. I have had this. I call it a 9 millimeter. I'm actually going to go double check, but I measured a long time ago when I got it. It was been 3-4 years ago. It has been the most reliable piece. I've broken more bowls and down stems than anything else. And I have thick ass glass down stems too. And so when I'm cleaning it, I am rough. I'm not going to sit there for an hour and a half, shaking it with salt and alcohol. I'm like, yeah, or getting that energy. Like I'm just going to clean it, pour it out, scrub it with a little pipe cleaner or a bamboo skewer stick. Those things just save my life. Poke the hole through. Let's go, man. I ain't got time for this. But for you guys, for y'all, lady, for you, ma'am, when you developed Mota Glass, what type of pieces did you focus in on first?
Classic. Because we had information, we had intel basically, because my partner and I, prior to launching Mota Glass, we had worked with an existing glass brand, and that's how we got into it. We worked with this glass brand for some time, and between my partner's expertise in business development and business operations and my expertise in branding, marketing, social media, him and I grew this business 5x in 8 months. Like, wow. We blew this business up. But the downside of that was that we didn't know a lot of information about this brand. We trusted their information that they were telling us. And when we blew up this brand and made them super successful, we started getting closer to them, and we found out and discovered a lot of lies, a lot of deceit, a lot of worker exploitation going on, a lot of really sketchy things that we couldn't be a part of. But we had already grown this brand. And so that was a big learning lesson for my partner and I, of doing investigations, honestly, before you work with someone. And I think we had our guard down because this person was someone that we knew, and we're like, oh, they wouldn't, do this, no. But then when we had actually grown their business, it was too late at that point. We were already in too deep, and we had to make a decision. Do we continue to support their actions, which are clearly hurting our community, because it was Latinos who they were, employing, or do we cut it off and part ways. We did try to educate, the people that we were working with, and try to tell them, change, you could do things better, or you can, fix things here. They were not having it. They did wanted to do things their way, and we have to respect what other people want to do. We were like, do your thing. We parted ways, and my partner and I were like, do we just walk away from what we've learned? Because we had to talk to glass blowers who told us about how bad it is in the industry for them. They basically have to deal with companies who will make them design a bong, and then they'll take the designs from them, not pay them, mass produce them in other countries, and then parade that in front of them because they know they can't do anything about it. They will cut the prices of their glass, their American made glass, down, and pay them less every year because they know they're not going to do anything about it. They know that they are likely undocumented, or potentially just don't have the business acumen to negotiate, right? Sometimes you're just going to they want to get their paycheck. So that's what we had learned about the glass industry. And my partner and I were like, damn, are we just going to walk away? So that's when Mota Glass was born. We made a brand for the glass blowers, a brand that can create consistent work for these glass blowers, and they'll get it from a brand that respects them, that isn't going to nickel and dime them, that isn't going to charge them, that's going to pay them less every year, that isn't going to, pay them to design a piece and then we go make it in other countries for $1 and then make them work more. We're not going to do that. And they looked at us like, you guys are going to do that? Good luck. And we were like, watch us do it. And so Mota Glass was born, and a few years in, we're now in a bunch of consumption lounges in Illinois and beyond. We're in dispensaries all throughout the state. We're a global company now. We are carried in Japan,
Nice.
which is interesting to me, but there is a smoke shop there that carries Mota Glass. So Mota Glass is now global. We created a new respect for local blown and putting Latinos on the map, because all our glass blowers are Latino as well. So if you check us out on the LA Times, they did like a 9-minute documentary piece on us.
Oh, wow.
Featuring one of our glass blowers. He's a Peruano. His interview was in Spanish, and he was talking about how his family comes from blowing glass. Those are stories that people need to hear in the glass community, in the cannabis community, because now in 2023, where the industry is the consumer is the one with the power. They decide which businesses are gonna survive and thrive, and they decide which ones go away. So they have spoken, and they want Mota Glass to be successful. They want Umo to be successful, and that's a big reason why, even though the industry may not be doing so well with the tax situation, all these industry issues, the brands that are doing well are the brands that the consumer decides deserve it. So I am always thankful of our fans and supporters, because our glass is moving, our flowers moving, and it's all because people choose to support it.
Nice. That's amazing. That's a great story, and I'm really just blown away by, the depth of how far you and your team goes to support the culture and our heritage, and to move forward a little bit to the events with Latinas in Cannabis. Now, is this a monthly, annual? Is there multiple events that are scheduled out? Or we'll get back to Umo and Mota, how to get involved there. But I want to really stress that, community is strong when you're involved. Showing up, giving that fellowship, giving that involvement and the actual energy, being present, right? It's a very powerful thing to show up and be there for your community and your culture. So for Latinas in Cannabis, how is that scheduled out? How does somebody become involved in all of that arena?
Yeah, if you want to be involved in Latinas in Cannabis, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Latinas_cannabis. We have gotten deleted a couple times because we are in cannabis, but I always get it back because I am a social media person. I know how to do it, but also we have press behind us. So that really solidifies this as organization as a real business organization. So I have my ways, and I've protected this account a lot. So be sure to follow us at Latinas_cannabis on Instagram. We are shadow banned, but you can find us if you spell everything correctly. That's the first way to get involved in our community. Watch what we're doing and get involved. Tag us, and I'll repost your stuff. We wanted to do events, but we were so busy, right? And then all of a sudden, the community forced it. The community was like, "We want events, do them," and I couldn't stop what they wanted. They made it happen. What happened was I have a lot of good friends that are amazing Latinas in the industry. So I get a phone call from one of my really good friends, Savina Monet. She's an amazing graphic designer and community activist. She co-founded the Cannabis Workers Coalition over in Oregon. She calls me and she's like, "Hey girl, I'm coming to LA. Let's hang out." I also get a phone call from another powerful Latina in cannabis, my girl Sue Carlton. She owns Ranchera Familia, which is a hemp farm out in the Fresno area. She gives me a call and she's like, "Hey girl, I'm coming to LA." And I was like, "Two chingonas coming to LA? Let's do something. Let's have some dinner, right?" And they were like, "Yeah, we can have some dinner or we can make something happen." And I was like, "Oh, hell nah." So it was Latinas coming together, trying to figure out what can we do to bring more Latinas together to talk about our experience and to build. I hit up my friend Chelly over at Chicali Products. She has an office space in downtown that she's always telling me, "Let's do an event, let's do an event." I was like, fuck it. Let's put out a call to have a sesh with other Latinas in cannabis. I'm going to hit up the homegirl at Fatty Girl Spreads to come through with an awesome charcuterie snack plate. I have Mota Glass and Umo for a bong bar. An invite. Let's have ourselves a little sesh. I put a call out and I told people to comment why they would like to attend. And in 12 hours, this post went viral because so many Latinas from all over wanted to join us. I could only pick 20 from the comment section, but that was our first sesh. I didn't have the bandwidth to do it. We didn't have a lot of planning. The community wanted it and the community got it. In this sesh, you can see the recap of it on Latinas_cannabis. It was a beautiful, beautiful community event with so many Latinas and cannabis coming together. So now we have to do this every month because it was so beautiful. Catch up and look to see for the next event. We are still getting everything structured. We are working on a website so we can have a calendar of events for you. I'm also going to be hiring soon so you can get some help on this. But it's a very community-oriented event, just like everything else that I do. The best way to keep up with it is to follow on Instagram and watch the evolution.
Wow, that's amazing and super awesome. And for all the listeners out there, we have just a lot of diverse groups of listeners, demographics. And I love the fact that you bring in something that ties in a special place. It allows people, women, to come together, share not only culture and community, but also yerba, humo, okay, mota glass, all of these great, just wonderfully named products and businesses.
Yes.
And then so following up with humo first, right? Or so let's go with mota glass first, and then we'll finish off on humo. For mota glass, how do we get mota glass? How do we get it? Where do we go? What's the right stuff?
Yes, the easiest way to get it is Mota, MOTA, -glass.com. Head up there, use code MOTAFAM, MOTAFAM for 15% off your first order. And check out, support local glass blowers. All of our pieces are 100% blown here in Los Angeles by Latino glass blowers. You can check on our website to see videos of people actually blowing this glass, because I know that there are a lot of people that say it's American made and it's really not. It really is American made with us. You can see proof. Check us out on the LA Times. Support local. We have amazing pieces like our Sugar Skull piece and our Love Sesh piece, which is a really awesome Valentine's Day gift. Be sure to check it out. But we're also available in dispensaries. We're starting to get with it because I think with the growth of the cannabis industry and just more cannabis enthusiasts enthusiasts investing in their cannabis use, dispensaries are now starting to see, yeah, we should be selling glass. Some of them, some dispensaries I think don't know how to stock their glass, but they're starting to wake up to carrying quality glass like Mota Glass. So you can definitely find us also on Casa Grande LA. They are a LA delivery cannabis service, and also MJ dispensary on Fairfax. You can walk in and grab a Mota Glass piece there. So those are other locations where you can find Mota Glass in California. If you're in Illinois, be sure to drop by Rise Mundelein Dispensaries by Green Thumb over in Chicago. You can check out our glass pieces there at their lounge. You can also go to Cannabella Lux, which is a Latina-owned smoke shop out in Chicago as well. They carry Mota Glass. A lot of places in Colorado, Good Flower, they carry Mota Glass. I'm so excited to get more shops to carry Mota Glass. I think that's just going to come with time, but you can always get it direct on motaglass.com. Be sure to follow us on Mota_glass on Instagram. We have giveaways all the time. A lot of fun stuff going on there.
That's awesome. See, that's so much fun because I think Glass Pieces brings in, again, more of the culture and the community again and again and again. And you're hitting every bell you can ring. And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Because to me, having something of like a piece, you're not just having something to smoke out of, right? It's a glass piece. Okay. It's like art piece. This is an art piece. It's so like glass being blown, it could turn into this. There's competitions for just glass pieces. I don't know them all, but it's so crazy. And to me, it's like, yeah, listening to how you have diversified your interests into entrepreneurship. And now to finish off with Umo. How does one get involved with Umo, the merchandise, the events, the cannabis, the farm? How do we get in touch with all that?
Yes. Oh, we have a whole community for Umo. For Umo, we have a whole community, and we have a lot more support there with Umo because we have a whole team, right? So with the possible team and a few other team members that I have there supporting. So with Umo, we're available in over 200 dispensaries all throughout the state. So you can hop in and on our website, get umo.com, and you can go visit our store locator, pop in your area code, and it'll serve you up the nearest dispensary to you. We're available in all Catalyst locations, all Element 7 locations. We're also find us at a lot of social equity shops here in LA, including Yerba LA, Cornerstone Wellness, just some Verde Plus right here, really close by in South LA. Josephine and Billy's Black woman-owned dispensary, 64 and Hope here in LA. Always love to shout out Social Equity, Butter LA in North Hollywood. Social Equity dispensaries, that's where, we love to support social equity as well as a Latino-owned and grown flower brand. We have a lot of events for Umo. Every week you can catch us at a bong bar. We have these bong bars that we do. Actually, one tomorrow. If you want to come out and taste some Umo, we're going to be at a Green Tea Studios in Hazy, LA, at an open mic music night, basically, where we're going to have our bong bar available. You can sample our newest strain, Flechazo, there. That's going to happen tomorrow. We're also going to be at the Catalyst Block Party this weekend. So many events, but you can keep up with our events at Instagram at Umo Familia. That's where we post all of our events. So many every week. You get a chance to sample our strains and purchase them with we have promos every week as well. We have a lot of fun stuff happening with Umo. The best way that you can keep up with everything is following us on Instagram at get.umo, get.humo on Instagram. Also following me at Susie Greens, SUSIE, and then the color greens. I'm always posting about Umo, Mota Glass, Latinas, and cannabis, what we got going on. With Umo, of course, we got some new drops coming, and a ton of events. And also, I'm about to announce today that we're going to be casting for our new brand video. We came out with a brand video last year that was recognized by the Clio Awards. And it was just our first brand video, But this time we're working on a second one, and I want to include real Umo supporters. So we're going to be doing a casting for the LA area to find some Umo supporters that want to star in it. It's going to be shot and directed by the acclaimed photographer and videographer in Crip, Los Angeles, one of the best visual artists of our generation, and a really good friend of mine. So that's something that, you know, I wanna put a spotlight on Umo supporters because they are really helping Umo become the brand that we know it could be. So I want to highlight them. But keep an eye on Umo. We have so many things dropping, guys.
That is so awesome. And honestly, I'm always taken aback with every guest, but this is a very special interview that I just very much enjoyed. I very much enjoyed your energy, your presentation of the products, and your expertise on how you structure your business and discuss your business. It's so important because to me, I believe that not only are women the future, I know that's corny, whatever, everybody, yeah, but that's the truth. Like, I honestly believe that we all have a place and we're all special and everybody's great and, love's abundant, wonderful, corny stuff too. But at the end of the day, it takes people that aren't necessarily presented in the world as a shining light to make changes to stigmas the best way that we can. All right. So for me to be able to be my humble self and just say thank you today for taking the time out and spending a good almost hour and a half just talking about yourself, your products, and the way that we can get involved. The only last thing I'd like to always ask our guests is do you have any shout outs that you like to give?
Yeah, I think that, well, first of all, yeah, we could talk for like another hour, man.
Yeah.
If we just lit up this joint I have right here of our award-winning limonada, I love that for daytime. It's my favorite work strain because it's a really buzzy sativa that like I have that with my green tea and I'm working. But we could honestly blaze up and talk about shit for like a good another hour.
And I'd love to have you on
Thank you for that.
all the way throughout the years to keep up with yourself and your brands. And that's something, that I find important is to follow up with the guests I speak with because I want to be more involved in the things that I bring to the world and say,
Yeah.
hey, look at this. This is some great shit, world, and like
Yeah,
as simple as
but
that
also
is.
like it's always really good when you find something and then you see it like blow up. Like it's such a good feeling that like, oh, I knew it before, you know? I feel like that is a big feeling that a lot of the supporters of my businesses have because they were fans of Mota Glass before Umo came. So a lot of the Mota Glass family, I call them, they became Umo fans because of just it happens, right? But they have a little bit of like an OG feel because they're like, we've been knowing, right? Like I love that we have kind of like a cult like following in that way where it's like people have like their inside kind of like relationship to the glass and the flower. But it's really great to see. Very grateful for your time and putting a spotlight on what we got going on here. As much as they are like my businesses, I consider them like important for the community and the culture, and it's very community based to where it's all of ours, like yours included. As a Mexican American, like we're all helping to shape the culture of what cannabis community is going to be, and it is diverse and it is women oriented. So I want to shout out women. I want to shout out, like you said,
Nice.
Women in cannabis that continue to inspire me and continue to keep me in the industry. We've all been through things in this industry that make us question whether we are going to stay, but there are many times where I have in the past thought I'm just going to go back to tech and beauty. It's just easier, it's cleaner. I don't get pushed around. but I stayed, and I stayed for the community because I know I have a purpose to make this environment better for the next woman like me. And so that's what keeps me going. So thank you to the women in cannabis that continue to inspire me and continue to keep me in this game. I do this for you, and I do this for the next generation. I also want to shout out all the supporters for Umo, Motaglass, and Latinas in cannabis. I mentioned that before. Without supporters, that they don't exist, right? Like it just doesn't happen unless y'all pick up what I'm putting down. So thank you for picking up the glass. Thank you for picking up the flower. Thank you for everything. I want to lastly shout out the team at Possible, the team at Umo. That's the dream team right there. I have been on the search for partners for a while, and these are the ones. And I'm just thankful that we found each other and are able to build something great together. So shout out to the team: Jesus, Max, Lorenzo, Jesse, Johnny, Menita, all the team over at Possible in-house, Isaac, the Grow team. Menita, I already said she's the best out there. So yeah, shout out to the team. We're nothing unless we're together.
Internet, hello. This is not all ocean of the water, and he's got this guy from the makeups and that Irish number 6 because he has no shit.
Well, I need to say,